Hey everyone, and welcome back to the English Prep Podcast. Today we're diving into something I know a lot of you think about and worry about, and that's reading faster in English. Without losing all the detail,
Yeah.
especially if you're prepping for exams like TOEFL or IELTS, or even just want to get through that English novel without it taking forever.
Right. And, so many learners get stuck thinking if they speed up, they'll miss crucial stuff. It's a totally natural concern.
For sure, for sure. So today, let's kind of bust that myth, shall we? Let's unpack how to become a more efficient reader, basically someone who can zoom through English text without sacrificing comprehension.
Yeah, I love that. Zoom through, that's the goal. And it's not about just skipping words, right? It's more like training your eyes and your brain to work better, smoother, faster, like a well-oiled machine.
Exactly. So when we throw around terms like reading speed and accuracy, what do we really mean, especially for our listeners who are, working hard to improve their English? And is it even possible to get better at both at the same time?
Okay, so reading speed is basically how many words you can process in a certain time. And accuracy is how well you understand and remember, what you just read. Now, the cool thing is these two aren't enemies. Not at all. With the right techniques, you can absolutely read faster and understand more. It's like a win-win.
Music to my ears. Okay, so thinking about how you read in English right now, are there things that slow you down or make it hard to understand? What are those factors?
A few things. One's definitely eye movement, like how smoothly your eyes move across the page. You don't want them jumping around all over the place. Think of it like watching a movie. You follow the action, right? Not randomly looking at different parts of the screen.
Right, so smooth and steady wins the race.
Exactly. And then there's vocabulary, obviously. The more words you instantly recognize, the less time you spend deciphering them. That alone can speed you up big time. Then there's focus. If your mind is wandering, you won't process the information as quickly. And lastly, it's those reading habits. Like anything, practice makes perfect. The more you read in English, the better you'll naturally become.
Solid advice. Okay, let's get tactical. What are some techniques our listeners can use right now to boost their reading speed in English?
Let's start with something called skimming. Now, it's not about reading every single word carefully. It's about grabbing the main idea quickly. Like when you're looking at a newspaper, you might just scan the headlines to see what's up.
Oh, so like getting the gist, not the full story.
You got it. And when you're skimming, you focus on those big signposts like headings, subheadings, bolded words, stuff like that. And pay attention to the first sentence of each paragraph. That's where the key point often is.
Makes sense. So it's like creating a mental map with the most important landmarks.
Perfect analogy. And here's a little exercise. Grab an article, set a timer for 1 minute, and just skim those key elements. Then try to summarize the article's main idea.
Love a good challenge. I could see how that would help you decide if you even want to read the whole thing.
Exactly. Skimming lets you decide what deserves a deeper dive. No more wasting time on stuff that's not relevant to you.
Efficiency at its finest. Now, what if you're not after the main idea, but you're looking for specific info, like a date or a name in a giant text?
That's when you scan. Different from skimming. Here, you're not trying to understand everything, just locate a specific detail. Your eyes move super fast, searching for keywords. Imagine you're looking for a specific recipe in a cookbook. You wouldn't read every recipe, you'd scan for the one you want.
Got it. Targeted search and destroy.
You got it. To practice this, grab a textbook chapter and try finding certain terms or dates. Highlight them as you go.
Super useful for exam prep, I bet.
Absolutely. Scanning helps you find what you need quickly, a lifesaver in exams, or even just life.
Right. Time is precious. Okay, now let's talk vocabulary. How much does knowing English words actually impact reading speed?
Huge. Think about it. The fewer words you have to stop and figure out, the faster you read. It's like driving on a smooth highway versus a bumpy road full of potholes.
Makes sense, less mental traffic. So how can our listeners expand their English vocabulary? Any tips?
Oh, tons. Flashcards and vocab apps are great for memorization, but for reading speed specifically, I'd say read stuff that's slightly above your current level. That way you'll encounter new words in context, write them down, and review them regularly.
So challenge yourself a bit, but not too much.
Yep. And the benefits go beyond just reading faster, right? A bigger vocab helps you understand more, express yourself better, you name it.
It's a ripple effect. Now, there's this thing called subvocalization, which sounds a little complicated. What is it, and why is it a speed bump for readers?
Subvocalization is that little voice in your head that reads along with you. We all do it. It feels natural. But it can actually hold you back because you're limited by how fast you can say the words in your head. Your eyes can actually process information much faster than that.
Like having a slowpoke narrator in your brain.
Haha, exactly. A good way to tackle this is to use your finger or a pen as a guide, moving it under the lines as you read. This forces your eyes to keep up and can help quiet that inner voice.
Interesting. So it's like training your eyes to lead the way, not the voice.
Exactly. By reducing subvocalization, you're basically teaching your brain to process words visually, and that can lead to much faster reading.
Cool trick. Okay, now this one sounds simple but effective. Using a timer when you read. How can that actually help?
A timer just makes you more aware of your pace. Try this. Pick a text and read for 5 minutes, noting how much you get through. Next time, try to read a little more in that same time.
So it's like setting mini speed goals for yourself.
Precisely. It pushes you to read faster and also helps you stay focused. When the clock is ticking, you're less likely to get distracted.
Love it. Okay, so we've got a good toolbox of speed boosting techniques. But speed without understanding is useless, right? How can our listeners make sure they're really absorbing what they read in English?
Right, accuracy is just as crucial. And the key here is active reading. It means really engaging with the text, not just passively scanning words.
So not just letting your eyes glaze over the page.
Right. Active reading means asking yourself questions as you go, like, what's the main point here? Or, what do I think will happen next? Try summarizing each paragraph in your own words, mentally or on paper.
Becoming an active participant, not just a bystander.
You got it. Active reading helps you understand and remember much better, even as you increase your speed.
Got it. So, being mindful of what we read, what about the kinds of stuff we read in English? Does that matter?
Definitely. Reading different kinds of texts is like cross-training for your brain. You'll get better at adapting your reading style. Novels, newspapers, articles, textbooks each have their own rhythm and style.
So mix it up. Don't get stuck in one genre or format.
Exactly. The more variety you expose yourself to, the more adaptable you'll become as a reader.
Expanding those horizons. We talked about note-taking earlier. Can you elaborate on how that can boost accuracy?
Sure. When you take notes, you force yourself to really process the information and put it into your own words. Summarizing goes even further, forcing you to pick out the most important bits. It's way more effective than just highlighting passively.
So it's about actively interacting with the text, not just marking it up.
Exactly. After reading a section, try summarizing the main ideas in bullets, a mind map, whatever works for you. This not only helps you understand better right now, but also improves your memory later.
Creating those mental connections. Now, what about when you hit a really tough part in an English text? Is it okay to just reread it?
Totally. Rereading is not a sign of weakness. It's a smart move. Sometimes approaching a tricky section again, maybe focusing on different aspects, can make it click.
So don't beat yourself up if you need to go back.
Exactly. Figure out what's making it hard and focus on that during your second pass. Also, try to connect those difficult parts to the overall context of what you're reading. That can really clarify things.
Making those connections again. Okay, last but not least, what about new English words? Should we stop and look up everything?
While building vocab is super important, looking up every new word will kill your flow. Try to use context clues first. That means figuring out the meaning based on the surrounding words and sentences.
So, becoming a word detective.
Yep. Look for synonyms, antonyms, definitions hidden within the text itself. The more you practice this, the better you'll get. Once you've finished a section or page, you can then check the meaning of any words you were unsure about.
Makes sense, building those detective skills. Okay, we've covered a lot of individual techniques, but how can our listeners actually put all this together in their practice?
Great question. It's about finding what works best for you and being consistent. A good way to start is with timed reading sessions, maybe 20-30 minutes a day. Pick an English text, set a timer, read, and then check your understanding afterwards.
And the goal is to try to get faster each time.
Yeah, gradually. As you get more comfortable, reduce the time for the same amount of material. Another great thing is to mix and match the techniques. Skim first, then read in detail with active reading strategies. Try different approaches for different types of texts.
Personalized practice. What works for one person might not work for another.
Right. Absolutely. And don't underestimate the power of English reading groups. Discussing with others what you read, comparing notes, it really helps solidify your understanding. Try choosing challenging texts and switch up the genres to keep it interesting.
Making reading social and fun.
Exactly. Consistency is key. Aim for daily reading, even if it's just for 10-15 minutes. Use those amazing apps and online tools for extra practice and progress tracking. Set realistic goals and celebrate those small wins along the way. Don't forget to take breaks during longer sessions to avoid burnout. And most importantly, be patient and persistent. Improving your reading skills takes time and effort, but the rewards are huge.
Speaking of rewards, these improved skills aren't just about acing English exams, right?
Not at all. Being a faster and more accurate reader makes you a better learner overall. It boosts your study efficiency, improves time management, and increases your confidence with complex English texts, whether for school, work, or just for fun. It's truly a foundation for lifelong learning and growth.
Wow, so many benefits. As we wrap up this deep dive, it's clear that becoming a faster and more effective English reader is totally achievable. By using these techniques, skimming, scanning, building that vocab, reducing subvocalization, and actively engaging with the text, you'll be well on your way to becoming a more confident and efficient reader.
Absolutely. Remember, find what works best for you. Experiment, be patient, celebrate every improvement, and most importantly, keep reading.
So what's one new technique you're excited to try? Think about how these strategies can help you reach your English goals, whether it's that big exam, enjoying English literature, or just feeling more comfortable with the language. Happy reading, everyone.